The show has plenty of mysterious moments, but here are the creepiest of them all. Graveyard Shift is the second of 2 episodes in this collection that will make your heart beat faster. The episode begins in the late afternoon, the workday is coming to an end, and the Krusty Krab restaurant is ready to close. But suddenly a pushy anchovy appears, ignores the closed sign, and starts ordering. Squidward, unhappy with this situation, hurries to inform him that the establishment no longer serves customers. However, the stubborn fish continues to demand an order. Hearing about the incident, Mr. Crab Cutlet, concerned about greed and the possibility of financial gain, decides to leave Squidward and Spongebob on the night shift, and he brazenly goes home to rest. The perpetually disgruntled, sleep-deprived Squidward sits down at his counter, grumbling at his fate, while Spongebob, full of pants of joy, rejoices at the opportunity to start work under the veil of night. SpongeBob's pesky happiness begins to annoy Squidward, and he decides to distract him. He slips him a large bag of garbage and points out the need to throw it away. But SpongeBob suddenly awakens an ancient fear of the dark. He musters up the courage to throw the garbage into the container across the street from the restaurant. Seeing his fear, Squidward decides to try his luck and, not missing a chance, sophisticatedly begins to make up a frightening story. He, set in a sinister mood, begins to tell a creepy story about hairy chopped meat. According to him, the once glorious Krusty Krab cook was left working the night shift one gloomy Tuesday. While cooking, he inadvertently lost his hand when the meat-chopping knife slipped. As a substitute, he taped a grilling spatula in place of his hand, unaware of the dire consequences. On his way back, a night bus picks him up, runs him over to his death, and his body is cremated. After this tragedy, Harry's spirit is rumored to return to Krusty Krab every Tuesday, seeking revenge for his death and humiliation. Squidward, describing 3 ominous signs that indicate his arrival, the lights in the restaurant begin to flicker. On and off, the phone suddenly begins to ring, the invisible interlocutor does not answer, and finally a ghost bus appears, the same one that took Harry, from which he emerges, plunging everything around him into an atmosphere of terror. This believable story gives SpongeBob a chill, but Squidward just frowns his eyebrows, enjoying the fact that he's able to scare his co-worker. This story does not leave SpongeBob indifferent. In a panic, he starts shouting indiscriminately, "Like and subscribe." As he continues shouting further, he completely ignores Squidward's growing irritation as he begs him to shut up. Squidward, with a teasing smirk, declares that it was all just a joke borrowed from his fertile imagination. After these words, Sponge, with clear signs of a nervous breakdown, begins to laugh as if he can't control his reaction. This laughter sounds strange, almost hysterical, reflecting his inner struggle with anxiety and fear. Squidward watches him doubtfully, sensing that the joke has turned out to be a different reaction than he might have expected. It's 3 in the morning and there is no one in the restaurant at all except SpongeBob and Squidward. Squidward, reading a book at the counter, hears strange noises coming from somewhere and starts to get nervous. But then it becomes clear that SpongeBob is working on the ceiling. Yes, I mean cleaning the ceiling. Suddenly, the lights start to flicker. SpongeBob laughs, taking it as a joke from Squidward, but the latter, puffing up his cheek, denies any involvement, saying that the cause is probably due to outdated wiring. Then the phone rings, but no one is on the line. SpongeBob, again hoping for a light joke, ignores the interference, but Squidward tenses up trying to remember the 3rd sign of hairy chopped meat, which heightens his nervousness. While he is remembering, a strange bus arrives at the restaurant. SpongeBob curiously asks Squidward if he rides at such a time, but Squidward replies that he does not. It is at that moment that a mysterious figure with a grill spatula and glimmering red eyes emerges from the bus. Horror appears on their faces at what they see. All doubts are dispelled. It is him, Harry Chopped Meat, ready to break the tranquility of this mystical night. They start to say goodbye to each other and say their last words, but suddenly the mystery is revealed. A completely ordinary guy is standing in front of them. He says with a slight smile that he dreams of getting a job at Krusty Krab and that his silence during the phone call was due to excitement. Squidward, still in shock at what is happening, begins to think about who was the one who turned the lights on and off after all. At this point, the lights begin to flicker again. Suddenly it turns out that behind all this is none other than Count Dracula himself. Amidst the unexpected plot twist, The two Seafood and Spongebob start screaming his name. The vampire count, illuminated by a dim light, smiles. Ultimately, I don't see the point of his appearance. Why do you think the vampire Dracula showed up at such a late hour? What's the point of him showing up? He probably wanted to drink some fresh blood. The second episode is Ghoul Fools. At the beginning, Patrick and Spongebob are lying around enjoying the clouds. Patrick says it quiets his inner demons. They imagine what the clouds might look like. The first cloud loomed as a giant crab, the other as a ghostly ship sailing across the sky. But momentarily, their reverie was broken by a sudden shadow. A flying ship flashed across the sky, falling to the bottom. Not realizing the folly, Spongebob and Pink Friend ventured aboard this ship that had fallen from the sky. As soon as they stepped inside, they were enveloped by eerie creatures, shadows that wriggled around, twisted figures that seemed to be the spawn of their fantasies. But what was most frightening was that these creatures clearly belonged to another world. Following the creaking corridor, they finally reached the main hall. In the center of the hall stood the ship's master, a ghostly captain playing funeral music on a piano, which caused fear. All around him floated ghosts. With horror, Spongebob and Patrick realized they were trapped. The ghost menacingly stated that he would take their souls, however, then added that if they brought him one single gasket for the ship, their souls would be returned. He handed over a gold doubloon as a farewell, and Patrick and Sponge ran out in fear, with their souls sucked out. They took refuge in the restaurant, where they turned to Mr. Krabs to get a gasket. "We need a gasket for the flying ship," shouted Sponge, his voice trembling with excitement. Mr. Crab gladly agrees to this exchange, one gasket for a doubloon. Soon, however, learning that there was a good deal of gold hidden aboard the ship, his excitement increased. Looking at his companions, Sandy, Squidward, and Patrick, he gathered them together, lured by the large amount of gold. Managing to get aboard the ghostly ship, he collected all the gold. Suddenly, his greedy gaze fell to the bottom of the chest, where the one and only remaining coin lay. Unable to resist the temptation, he greedily pulled it out, at the same moment awakening the murderer sleeping in the shadows on the ship. As soon as he opened his eyes and realized what was happening, the fight had begun. Each of them was sure that he was destined to become the owner of all the gold. With the ghost distracted by the gasket, they decide to make a daring attempt to escape. The owner of the ship, realizing that his captives are close to release, creates a portal in the doorway. It was their only hope. Almost everyone in the group is sucked into this passage, but what awaited them on the other side would not even be wished on an enemy. Terrifying visions of their darkest fears begin to haunt them in this new dimension. Each of them faced their own demons. Octopus found himself face to face with the ugly Spongebob, his innocent but persistent friend whose hysterical laughter haunted him, causing him real torment. Krabs, absorbed in his favorite passion, noticed that the toilet stall required one doublon per entry, which made him furious. Pink Patrick saw an evil donut in his nightmares. After a while, Sandy rescued them from this purgatory with her vacuum cleaner. Later, it turns out that all the gold they were trying to decorate actually belongs to the Flying Dutchman. His ghostly ship was approaching. The Flying Dutchman, full of anger, was about to punish them for stealing. When he caught up with them, the ghost claimed that he had been meaning to return his treasure for a long time. However, it was only a clever ruse. After this cunning maneuver, the Flying Dutchman realized that he had been tricked and burst into a furious rage. Instantly, he turned into a rocket and fell, blowing up the entire underwater continent. The next shot shows the Krusty Krab, but the setting is different than before. They realize that they are in a grave dimension. Working for low wages among dead souls, they realize that this reality is their new challenge. Now they work in an endless loop, while the ghostly Spongebob, a schizophrenic, laughs endlessly, turning them over on a kitchen spatula. Write crab meat in the comments if you've watched to the end, subscribe and like. See ya!